Hey guys, today we're driving the 2023 Honda Pilot TrailSport. This is an all-new Pilot in its 4th generation. It has a new 3.5 liter V6. It makes 285 horsepower and it has a 10-speed automatic transmission now. We're going to be driving this on-road and going to be doing a pretty intense off-road trail. It's rated as moderate later on today. We'll make 2 separate videos out of this, but in this video, we're going to be talking about what this is like to drive on-road. We've already spent some time in the Elite, the top trim Honda Pilot, so we can make some comparisons. Tedward is in the passenger seat because we are on the launch event and we sometimes have to share some cars on these types of drives. What you need to know with the TrailSport trim is that this has some underbody skid plates that protect the engine bay from impact. Nice big beefy steel skid plate right there. And under the fuel tank, we also have an integrated front recovery point there, as well as some recovery points back here with a tow hitch. These can pull the vehicle no issues. This can tow up to 5,000 pounds. You no longer need a transmission cooler in this Pilot to achieve that rating. This can do that all day very comfortably. Let's hop inside. We'll start this up real quick and then we'll walk you around this inside and out. Say hello to Tedward here.
Hey guys.
How's it going?
Nice to see you.
We're out here near Sedona, Arizona on some very scenic roads. So I think we've got a pretty good drive route planned for you today. So we're just coming out of the Elite Honda Pilot, which had a few more amenities, but overall, this TrailSport trim is pretty well equipped. We have heated seats, a heated steering wheel. I love the location of this button right here, dead center. Pretty much the same steering wheel button layout and familiar looking climate control knobs that we see in a lot of other Honda models. These are a little bit different style from the Civic, the HRV, the CRV, but pretty much the same layout too. We've got controls for our rear climate, which is nice. We can turn that on and off very easily. You can control the rear fan speed, turn it on and off quickly. That's all you need. It's just so simple. No gear lever. We have a push button gear selector down here, which is interesting because I thought Honda was kind of switching over to gear levers instead of the push button system, but they've retained that along with, I believe the Passport also has the push buttons. Down here, we can change our drive modes. We have a slew of different drive modes: Sport, Normal, Eco, Snow, Trail, Sand, and Tow. And we'll be testing out the Trail mode later on today on this off-road trail. I think it's a Broken Arrow Trail out here in Sedona, so that'll be really pretty cool. The rest of this interior is very straightforward, simple, easy to use. Tom and I are both huge fans of what Honda is doing with their interiors these days. They are just so functional. You can hop into one of these cars and pretty much know how to use everything immediately. The ergonomics, the button placement, the design of everything is very cohesive, clear. They're just awesome vehicles to live with. This infotainment is updated with Honda's latest processing system. It's pretty fast. It's actually a little bit more responsive than I've noticed in Type Rs, for example. CarPlay connects wirelessly in every trim, EXL and above, I believe, which is nice. As far as the gauge cluster goes, we have the half digital cluster that we see in a lot of other Honda models. We don't get the fully digital screen like we do in the Honda Pilot Elite, but we have an analog speedometer on the right and then a bunch of different displays and information gauges on the left that you can configure. I like to keep it minimal and just select no content and just have my tachometer there. Otherwise, we have this massive panoramic sunroof. Here's what that operation looks like. Ooh, and it goes all the way back. Look at that. You could kind of stick your head out or stick your camera out, enjoy some sights of the mountains there. I mean, this new Pilot is really designed to be more of an adventure-oriented vehicle, and this TrailSport is the best example of that. With all the latest interest in overlanding and off-roading and camping and just adventure lifestyle, especially post-COVID, I think this TrailSport really kind of aims at that market, a younger buyer. We'll be seeing later today how much more capable this Pilot TrailSport is than the previous generation. But now let's show you around the back of this car, see what cargo's like, see what that third row is like. You can have this as up to an 8-passenger 3-row option. I believe the TrailSport only comes as a 7-seat option. There's no center seat. But in the Elite and all the other trims, you can throw that center seat back here, which is pretty cool. The TrailSport does have a slightly higher floor back here to accommodate a full-size spare tire, but there's still plenty of room back here for backpacks, bags, etc. It's nice to have this little trunk area, and it does latch closed. You've got a 12-volt outlet over here to the left. You can easily fold these seats down. Everything is manually operated. Tons of cargo space. Power lifting and closing tailgate. Let's take a look at that full-size spare tire too. There it is. You've even got the Continental Terrain Contact AT tire on that. Let's see what access is like into the third row. So you should just have a button that pushes the seat forward automatically. Seats are easy to raise up. We also get multi-link rear suspension in this new Pilot, and that allows for a bit more third row height for a more comfortable sitting position. I feel pretty good back here. I have plenty of headroom, couple inches, nice armrest, couple cup holders. The new Pilot is just cup holder galore. I can't remember the number they gave us, but
it's
it was
astronomical. And
yeah.
not only is it astronomical, they're the largest cup holders. They're designed to hold Nalgene bottles.
Yeah, it's well into the double digits.
So the Pilot will keep you hydrated.
Yeah. Little tie down points right here. Yeah, massive Nalgene bottle size cup holders. You can get USB ports. This is great, and this center pass through makes it really easy to get in and out of the third row too. Or you can just press this button and everything just folds forward. Wonderful. We've got second row window shades. Let's see what it's like sitting behind a Tedward.
Yeah, I'm in like a normal seating position right now.
Yeah, this feels good. I have a good amount of knee room. I can kind of see over you too. I have slightly higher stadium seating back here. What an open, airy cabin. I mean, the visibility in this is just insane. I could see so far around and above, and even there's literally no blind spots in this thing. It's pretty amazing. The view out of the rear window is slightly hampered by those rear headrests, but you could always fold those down. Nice looking captain's chairs. We have armrests. I like all the TrailSport contrast orange stitching. It's just a neat look, and we get floor mats here that are a little bit more rugged, ready for mud and dirt to be washed off. Cool. I mean, this new Pilot is bigger in every dimension. It's longer, wider, has a longer wheelbase. We get slightly tweaked suspension in this TrailSport model. It has an inch more ground clearance than the standard Pilot. Standard Pilot is 7.3 inches. This is 8.3 inches. And of course, we get these Terrain Contact 265/60 R18 Continental tires. A really nice all-terrain tire that has great highway manners. It's quiet, it handles well, it's pretty good in the snow. Honda made a really nice choice with selecting this tire to work on this Pilot. Let's pop the hood real quick. We'll take a look at this new all-aluminum V6. So 5 more horsepower than the previous generation Pilot. It is designed, if I can ever find the hood release, to have much lower emissions, be more economical at the pump, and still put out a good amount of power. It does not have VTEC. It's a dual overhead cam setup. Forged connecting rods. Should be a pretty good engine. It even sounds nice in this new Pilot. We'll listen to that in sport mode. It sounds like a good 60-degree Honda V6, which is what we want. Fuel economy on this TrailSport Honda Pilot is rated for 18 miles to the gallon in the city, 23 on the highway. We even get a nice chunky roof rack up here. Not sure what the rating is, but looks like you could mount some pretty good stuff to it. Regular fuel. All right, let's hop in. We'll take this for a drive and give you guys some first impressions of this on the road. All right, that feels like a pretty good walk around. We've got our navigation set. We are in normal drive mode. We'll start off with that and ramp things up from there. We'll see how this Pilot TrailSport drives. This is my first time behind the wheel. Tedward's been driving an Elite model all morning. So we'll make some comparisons to that. But personally, this is the Pilot that I would be interested in, just because of its more rugged off-road nature. Oh, shedding a lot of gravel there. V6 sounds great. And again, visibility does not disappoint once we're on the open road. Gosh, look at this view.
It doesn't hurt that that's the visibility.
That's the visibility. Steering is light. Ride is soft, supple. I have a nice high commanding driving position. I like the way this new Pilot looks too. It definitely carries on some design language from the Passport TrailSport, and sharing that front grille shape. It's a little bit more rugged and tough looking than the previous generation Pilot, which in my opinion just kind of looked like a big CRV. Give this guy some more room.
Luckily, its crash test ratings are pretty high.
Oh my gosh, that's a really big positive to this Pilot.
That was actually unsavory what just happened.
That was less than ideal. The NHTSA has this new crash test. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but basically it mimics a Pilot-sized SUV crashing into this Honda Pilot, and it scored very, very well. Very little intrusion into the cabin, like only like an inch or something, and the door beams took the brunt of the impact. We'll throw some B-roll in to show you guys what that looks like, but it's always from Honda. Their philosophy of safety for everyone carries through with this Pilot, and this is an incredibly safe vehicle. We also get that special passenger side airbag that reduces head rotation on impact. It's kind of like a big baseball catcher's mitt. It just kind of cradles your face in the event of impact, and I'm sure it's very comfortable. So you're in good shape. We're not going to be testing that today. All you need to know is at the end of the day, this is going to keep all the people that you carry around in your Honda Pilot very safe, which is, I think, a very important consideration for vehicles in this class, considering that it's mostly purchased by families. One thing I do like about this new Pilot is that it is a lot more capable than, let's say, the alternative minivan. It's got a good amount of ground clearance. We have a very trick all-wheel drive system here. So this can send up to 70% of the engine's torque to the rear wheels, which is pretty awesome. A little bit of a rear bias there. Helps with handling, helps with off-road driving. And then on the rear axle, it can torque vector up to 100% of that power from one wheel to the other. So that's pretty cool. The front axle will do brake torque vectoring. Again, we'll test that later on today off-road and see how it really translates into the real world. But on paper, it seems like a pretty impressive all-wheel drive system. Seems familiar to what we've seen in some Acuras in the past, which is kind of cool. All right, looks like we've got some twisty roads up here. We've got paddle shifters. I just put us into sport mode. See how this 10-speed auto does. This drives as you would expect it to, considering all the other Honda vehicles that we've been behind the wheel of. It's a really nice, cohesive package. It's very comfortable. Everything just feels so natural and so intuitive and in harmony. And it's kind of a difficult thing to describe on camera. You really have to kind of get behind the wheel, feel it, experience all the inputs for yourself. But they are just wonderful vehicles to live with and experience on the day-to-day. These seats are really comfortable. That's a big positive. Two guys up here with some lower back issues.
That's most of our conversations.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, we're talking about not about what cameras to bring on these trips, but what type of medications and back exercises we need to do before the plane ride.
GoPros and anti-inflammatories.
Exactly.
Are the two most important things in my life.
You got it. So we're feeling pretty good. We've spent about an hour or so in this Pilot so far, and these front seats are really comfortable. They've done some things with the structural integrity of the seat and the underpinnings to make it a little bit more ergonomically friendly for those of us who want just a bit more seat comfort. It's nice to see Honda putting an emphasis on that. There's a little bit of tread growl at speed, but we are on some rougher pavement. This 10-speed is very smooth to downshift. Front end has good grip, initial bite. The handling here is very progressive. Really nice softness to the suspension. This really does hide its weight and size at speed. If you were to put me in the passenger seat blindfolded, I would think that this is a much smaller vehicle than it is. Part of that is helped with the lighter steering, and the visibility just gives you so much confidence in driving this car on the road and placing it. And I dare say it's kind of fun on a back road. The V6 helps with that. You get some auto blips on downshifts. Do we have a sport transmission mode? Yes, we do. Alright, shifts are even a little bit more lively now. Last time we were doing this, we were in a Type R. This is a little bit of a different pace.
These seats are not as supportive laterally.
Yeah, a little bit of a different design there. It feels good on a back road. I mean, part of it is you want a vehicle that handles well for safety reasons. The other reason is maybe you want something that's a little bit more fun than a minivan or the standard SUV fare. And also, to get to the trail, to get to your campsite, you're going to be driving probably some decent twisties. And if you can toss the family around a little bit, there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to see Honda making their mainstream large 3-row SUV a good driver's vehicle too. The controls here are definitely all on the lighter side. Steering feels kind of similar to the MDX. It's direct, light, a little bit of feel, so you kind of know what's going on with the front end. I'm sure it'd be a little bit sharper on the Elite model Pilot and the other trims with larger wheels. But as it sits on these all-terrains, it's nice to see that this has the off-road capability that it does without sacrificing on-road manners. We'll talk more about this once we get on the trail, but Honda developed this TrailSport specifically to tackle moderate-rated trails. And they've tested it on a number of different trails around the country, and it's performed flawlessly. The skid plates can hold up to a lot of abuse. The all-wheel drive system and traction control systems are very well calibrated for their intended use. The trail mode is what we'll test out later today and really put this to the test in a lot of different scenarios. Whenever I come places like this, I'm like, gosh, people actually live out here and see this every day, and it's normal. And then, after a couple days, you get used to the scenery and all the beautiful views, but this is just fantastic. I love it. The view coming into Sedona is just, it doesn't get any better.
This is ridiculous.
This is amazing. So many colors. And I'm glad we're coming out here in the winter too, because you get a little bit of snow on the tops of the mountains.
It's also nice because it's not 102 degrees.
Yes, it is 41 degrees Fahrenheit. And that is a very comfortable temperature with a light jacket and some long johns. Of course, we also have all of the Honda Sensing suite of safety systems and adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, all that good stuff. It works pretty well. We haven't tested this extensively on the highway today, but I imagine it works about as well as it does in all the other Honda products, which is pretty well. We don't get a head-up display in this TrailSport like we did in the Elite trim that we were driving previously. I'll try to get a video on an Elite today. Not sure if we'll have enough time, but we might just be able to squeeze one in. So if you see that coming, we'll feature those different options in that vehicle. But for now, though, I think this TrailSport kind of gives you everything you want with this emphasis on adventure and off-road capability that strikes a really nice balance with its driving dynamics. And it kind of gives you everything you need without too many frills or distractions. And I think this is kind of a sweet spot in the lineup for the more enthusiast-oriented buyer. Let's see what the turning radius is like. Pretty good for how big this is. That'll translate well on the trail too. At first I was thinking 8.3 inches of ground clearance. That's not really a whole lot. That's just a little bit more than a GX. That's about actually it's less than what a Subaru Forester Wilderness is, or a Subaru Outback Wilderness is. But as long as you have skid plates and underbody protection, and you have a good approach and departure angle, that's pretty workable. And there's always a balance with these things. You need to balance out aerodynamics, fuel economy, handling, center of gravity with off-road capability. And I think this TrailSport does a really nice job balancing all of that and being a really nice vehicle to drive on a daily basis with few compromises in terms of its on-road capability versus its off-road prowess. It's pretty quiet too. Good insulation.
This is un-Honda-like lately because all of their cars have had a bit of intrusive road noise.
Honda's road noise is getting a little bit... If I have one complaint about a lot of the new Honda models is that they are a little bit loud. We don't have the 12-speaker Bose system in this Pilot TrailSport, but we do have just the standard unbranded sound system. First impression, sounds pretty good for what it is. Let's take a listen and cue up our test track here and let you guys hear what that's like. Sounds pretty good. We'll have to test out the Bose system a little bit later, but for the unbranded standard sound system in this TrailSport model, pretty nice system. It's not up to the level of Acura's ELS sound systems, but pretty impressive. One feature that's pretty neat, at speeds below, I think it's 12 or 15 miles per hour, you can press this little button right here on the stock and see a camera view. Forward-facing, surround. We're definitely going to be utilizing that on the off-road test route, but even day-to-day in parking situations, that could be pretty useful. This is a pretty large vehicle, and even though it has great visibility, judging your extremities isn't always accurate to the inch or millimeter, and camera systems like that help, especially if they're easily accessible, where you can just press a button and see what you need to around you. That's some of the best placement I've seen, actually. Usually that camera button is down here or over here, and this you don't even have to look for it. Here's just a quick peek of the Honda Pilot Elite. The top trim comes in around $53,000. You can see we have some differences from the TrailSport that we've been driving all afternoon. We have a head-up display with a speedometer, a fully digital gauge cluster, heated and ventilated seats. We still get a heated steering wheel, and just a little bit nicer amenities in this Elite trim. It rides an inch lower than the Honda Pilot TrailSport. Ride quality, though, feels about the same. Haven't had time to really push this around any corners, but for the most part, dynamically, it feels very familiar. Let's pull over here, show you what that 8th seat looks like in the back. Love the placement of that parking brake. So you can see on the outside, a little bit of a different look from the TrailSport, as you would expect. And then looking at the second row here, we have the center seat that you can either fold down, use as cup holders and a storage space, or you pull this tab, it folds up into an 8th seat. You can even remove this, pull this out, and place it in the back. There's enough room to store this underneath right here. I do wish this panel were hinged. That is one complaint that I do have about this Pilot, is that I feel like I would use this personally quite a bit just to hide items in the back, and also it's a really nice trunk area that keeps things contained. But yes, you can fit the rear seat back here, and a pretty useful space to put it, honestly. It even shows you how to do that, and it kind of locks into place. Everything else is pretty much the same as we saw in the TrailSport. If you've got a little bit more money to spend and you don't want to forego any features, this Honda Pilot Elite is probably the one to swing for. All right, let's head back. We'll keep driving our TrailSport and wrap up this video with some final thoughts. Overall, I think this is a pretty nice offering from Honda. Definitely a big improvement from previous generation Pilots. It carries on the same philosophy that we've seen in a lot of other Honda products, from the CR-V, the HR-V, the Civic. The usability of the interior space, the functionality and ease of use of everything is so nice in these new Honda models, and the driving experience is really, really excellent for the price you pay. This feels very premium, this feels very luxurious, and I think it kind of blurs the line between Honda and Acura just a little bit. I would like to see a few more options in this TrailSport for the $50,000 price point, especially when comparing it to what you get in the Elite model. A few things feel a little bit more bare bones in here compared to some of the other trims, but that sacrifice is off-road capability and usability on the trail, and I think that's a compromise that some people are going to be willing to make, especially for a little bit simpler of a vehicle. I like the new Honda Pilot. Ted would seem to have pretty good thoughts too. We'll give you guys some more videos on this soon, and hopefully get a chance to drive it back home. But stay tuned for the trail drive, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.